Sometimes I just feel old. At a gathering of young adults recently, the speaker, in his address, told his audience that he was going to quote some lyrics from a song by someone they might not know. John Lennon. I had a similar realization when I said something about a Vulcan mind meld to a group of teenagers not so long ago. They had no idea who Mr. Spock was. This is like pointing out that my son and daughter have never known a president not named Bush, Obama, or Trump. Well, I remember John Lennon. In fact, my wife Lisa and I were living in Manhattan when he was killed. I remember taking a crosstown bus the day after his murder and looking down Central Park West toward the Dakota big apartment building where he lived. There were hundreds of people out on the street outside the police tape. Lennon's death was the end of something for a lot of people in my generation. Maybe you've seen the memorial in Central Park. Strawberry fields, a couple of acres. There's a mosaic there with an inscription, one of John Lennon's songs. Imagine, it says. Imagine. It's a powerful word, and one close to the heart of the faith of Jesus, I believe. In his book, Reimagining Christianity, the late dean of Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, Alan Jones, argues that we desperately need to recover the Christian faith primarily as a work of the imagination. Religion as a work of art, something we can delight in. All the other things it has become, a purity code, a control system, a set of ideas and doctrines, a tool to justify oppression, a club for the like-minded. All those other things are a betrayal. They are a betrayal of the God-shaped imagination that fired the message and ministry of Jesus. This is the tragedy of fundamentalism in all the religious traditions. Doctrines and beliefs are fundamentally works of the imagination, signs of vast realities that cannot be put into words. And without a faith-filled imagination, we are not so much in danger of betraying the past. Without a faith-filled imagination, we are in far greater danger of betraying the future. I think that's at the root of so much of the desperate violence in this world, especially as it shows up in the young. Another shooter in a school or a public gathering no longer even shocks us, let alone the daily violence among the young on the streets of our cities. And there are common denominators behind it all that should chill us all. We know the signs for such violence. There's so much hopelessness of being ostracized or bullied or rejected. There's a poverty of imagination behind the decision to annihilate the dreams and hopes and lives of others. One commentator about this apparently random, epidemic of gun violence especially, one commentator said that these random murderers can't imagine the empty space they are making in succeeding generations because they can't even imagine their own futures. The Sadducees we heard about this morning were the righteous religious conservatives of their day. They were deeply invested in maintaining the hard-won and uneasy accommodations with the Roman Empire so that the practice of Judaism could continue in the Holy Land. In this morning's gospel, they're trying to trap Jesus, and not for the first time. You see, Jesus sounded more like a Pharisee those liberals who had embraced a theology of resurrection. Many in Israel had come to believe that God would give new life to those who had died unjustly. That was the only answer that made sense if you were going to believe in a loving God at all. There must be a resurrection to new life. How else could it be with the God of the living? But the Sadducees took a different line. Resurrection wasn't in the Bible, you see. Not in the books of Moses, at any rate. Couldn't prove it there, therefore it couldn't be true. End of discussion. The Pharisees would want to rearrange the temple furniture next. Imagine. The Sadducees try to bait Jesus with this ridiculous scenario of the woman and the 7 brothers. All right, Jesus, we can hear them say, answer us this. Plucked out of some obscure point of the law, it's the kind of reduction to the point of absurdity that sounds all too familiar from our own national debates about morality. It's the kind of thing we get far too much of in the councils of many churches. The Sadducees weren't really interested in Jesus' answer because they had already decided he was wrong. It's all so joyless and grim. I am profoundly suspicious of any religion that becomes deadly serious. But Jesus, in typical fashion, steps right over their trap. Resurrection isn't about this world with its conventions of marriage and property, who's going to inherit what or whom. It's not just some warmed-over version of life as we know it, he says. It's something radically, unthinkably new. It is, in fact, new life, new creation. Jesus came to announce, to live the beginning of that new kind of life. In his death and resurrection, it would already start. The new creation was about to begin. Imagine. The life Jesus longs to give us is a life beyond the imagination we can usually muster. A life beyond our conventional definitions of freedom and joy. A life of outrageous abundance, generosity, and love. Today we're kicking off this year's pledge campaign. Don't flinch. It's okay. It's all right. We're kicking off this year's pledge campaign. We're asking ourselves at All Saints to practice giving of our resources to make sure this church can be a place of profound, Christ-like imagination. Yep, we're asking ourselves for money. But at the end of the day, it's not the money that matters. It's our celebration of the new life we find together here. That's what matters. God isn't interested in our money. God doesn't want your money or mine. God wants you and me. God wants to give us the new life that comes to us when we learn to live like this, not like this. We got way too much of this in this world. Jesus could imagine a new world. Jesus could imagine it in such a way that it became real. Jesus lived this new life. He refused the conventional piety of religion as it had come to be. He ate and drank with the worst sinners. He touched people no one else would have anything to do with. He loved the poor and sparked their imaginations with hope. The Sadducees were stuck in the poverty of their own little world. A world they could taste and touch and see and measure and control. One with laws they knew could be kept because they kept them. principles that could be proven, not imagined. Dear friends, we are dead in the water if we take the Sadducees' line. We are dead in the water if we can no longer imagine. We are dead if we stick only with what we can see and touch and measure and prove. The dead world we know all too well. You know how it goes. He'll never change. They're all just that way. I'm right, and they're all wrong. A dead world of haves and have-nots, of those who are in and those who are out, a dead social and economic world of self-righteousness and isolationism and hoarding, a dead political world of increasingly shrill opinions masquerading as understanding. We are dead if we refuse to imagine a new world. If we fail to imagine a new life where anything is possible. Ancient enemies reconciled, old hatreds turned into love, new life out of what looks only like death. So, dear friends, fill out those pledge cards, please. But make it an act of prayer. Make it an act of prayer. Let's stand with Jesus. Here at All Saints, let us imagine with Christ an utterly new kind of world. And then let's work to make it real.